We are less than a month away from the first ever story missions for Overwatch now, and we've gotten a glimpse at a few of the villains that we will be facing in those story missions. But who is going to be the end boss in all of this? Let's have a look. Hey guys, I'm Dimesies from the Omnic Post. Contrary to what some people claim, on August 10th PVE is coming to Overwatch 10. And the one thing I'm looking forward to the most in all of this is the lore. Now I'm working on a separate video on all my expectations for PVE in Season 6, so make sure to subscribe. But today I want to take a more specific look at the lore and villains in particular. Those recent episodes of that animated miniseries, Genesis, had me thinking. I know, it's dangerous. Who is going to be the end boss for Overwatch? I've jokingly said that it is some kind of arm and leg eating monster because, well, let's say about 60% of all heroes are missing a limb, but I don't think that is going to be the case. I think they're just all very clumsy. Now, the first time we ever saw something about Overwatch was back in 2014 BlizzCon. There was this trailer, and it was clear immediately that this was going to be a good versus bad story. Or good versus evil. Whatever. If you remember that first trailer, it was Winston and Tracer taking on Reaper and Widowmaker. And Winston and Tracer immediately showed compassion and concern about the innocent bystanders, which were basically the two kids. While Reaper and Widowmaker... not that much. He was actually ulting in the middle of that place. Come on, dude. And sure, as we got to know these heroes and their background stories, we noticed that good versus evil wasn't as clear cut. It turned out there was some reasoning behind all of these evil schemes. But in the end, there are some villains at work here. Something I have seen a lot in Blizzard's storytelling overall, and maybe in some other IPs, is a system of tiers within villains. Let me explain with an example. Warcraft, for instance. With every of these early expansions, you were served with a new bad guy. And you had to beat that bad guy by the end of said expansion. You worked up to that big bad guy through all these tiers. You had these lieutenants, generals, and then you faced the big bad boss. But you quickly noticed that behind the scenes there was a mastermind at work. There was something else going on. And you never got to fight that mastermind. Well, not till the later expansions at least. Because at some point you actually faced that mastermind, and guess what? There was someone else behind him controlling him. It's like this Russian doll system of crooks and maniacs. Marvel does the same thing actually. And something tells me we're going to see that same system in Overwatch. We already met some of the lieutenants like Reaper, Widowmaker, Moira. All of these are Talon members and their leader is Doomfist. And besides Talon there's Null Sector, the Omnic terrorist group led by Ramattra. Up till now we have not met any of his lieutenants, but that might be changing very soon, in Season 6 already. We might actually learn what happened to Case. Remember him from the London comics? He might be one of them. It is very clear that Null Sector is going to be our primary target in the story missions that are coming, and probably for the next few kind of waves of story missions. And I somewhat feel like Ramattra and Doomfist are on equal footing, although I do think that one gets more out of this deal than the other. But for the sake of the story, I'm going to say that Ramattra is going to be one of the bosses we'll face at some point, while Doomfist might stick to the role of a plot disruptor. Someone that is on the sidelines for now, and that just kind of influences everything that happens. And before we start kind of dealing with Talon, we need to figure out the force behind Null Sector and Ramattra. I mean, this is not the first Omnic crisis, and it kind of makes sense that after 3 times, they're like, alright, maybe we need to dig a little deeper and find out what's going on right there. Which might take a few years, to be honest, but... And one of the theories I've been chewing on is that Anubis is actually the one behind the curtains. That he is the puppet master. Some people don't agree with me because Ramattra is very outspoken about his hate for Anubis, for his contempt even. But well, let me put it this way. I know quite a few people that are not getting along with their parents, but they still have a lot of similarity with their parents. They still have a lot of the same traits. What I'm trying to say here is that, yeah, one doesn't exclude the other. Don't forget that Anubis is the one that created Ramattra. And if he's smart, if he's a good developer, and developers will understand what I mean, there might be a little back gate, you know? A little check. A little port that nobody is kind of looking at, that nobody really minds. What is that? It's just logs, it's just going out. But that actually might give Anubis a lot of control over all the Omnics, including Ramattra. And his outspoken disdain for Anubis might actually be a symptom of him being under control. There was one example where Anubis took over an Omnic. Well, there were a few, but one important one was Okoro, which is a Helix operative that was being taken over by Anubis during a mission. During an incident where Anubis was trying to break through the firewall. Okoro ended up kind of self-destructing to stop him from taking him over. And I'm pretty sure that after that incident, Helix kind of tightened those firewalls a little bit and made sure that he can't try that a second time. The thing is, I think Anubis at that point learned that it might be better to be operating from the shadows and not trying to take over every Omnic it sees. It's an AI, it learns, it evolves. In the end, it is a program that was made to solve the environmental crisis on our planet. And it figured out that we were the issue, as is the fact in reality. So it decided that we needed to go. That AI has a problem it needs to solve, and it will keep going till it is disabled or it reached its goal. I mean, that's how programs work. And Ramattra claims to have his own goals. He wants to preserve his species, the Omnics. But sending your species into an open war with humanity doesn't really feel like you're trying to preserve them. I don't know if you know that, but wars do not save lives. So I still feel like he's being influenced by his creator. And I don't care how loud he yells that he hates his daddy. Ramattra has daddy issues. There, I said it. And Daddy Anubis might be on our hit list one day. So the question is, who is going to be next? We're still doing that Russian doll, you know? Are there any other rogue god programs? Well, let's see. We're getting an Inca-inspired support hero in Season 6. Now, if you ever watched Stargate, you might know where I'm going with this. But we got Anubis. We have Athena, who is on our side. Might we get an Inti program? The Inca sun god? I don't know. I mean, it's clear that this new hero is going to bring a whole new slab of Inca sun-focused and different tasting lore within the universe. But when it comes to god programs, I remember Michael Chu saying at some point that when he talked about a god program, he actually really meant Anubis, as if Anubis was the only one. On the other hand, in chapter 1 of Genesis, that new animated miniseries, they are talking about god programs, which is plural. In case you didn't know, so it could go anywhere. But my point is that Null Sector and Anubis are the tip of the iceberg. And there might be other remnants of our history, of our past, that are coming to haunt us. I'm talking about Omnics, AI, sun gods, and Dutch people. Alright, my neighbors, please. No, let me explain. I almost got a wooden shoe thrown at me. I'm talking specifically about Sigma. Right now, Sigma is being portrayed as a victim. As someone that is a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. A little out there. My theory is that he is very present, but on a very different plane of existence. And that the Sigma that we see in our world that is joining our teams is nothing more than an echo of Siebren de Kuiper. He is just but a fraction of the sum that makes up Sigma. There are a whole lot of theories about the second dimension, third dimension, fourth and fifth dimension. I'm not going to explain those right now, but go check that out on YouTube if you're interested. My point is that he had been experimenting with black holes and gravity, and that experiment that turned him crazy might actually have worked and kind of spread him over hundreds or maybe thousands of realities. And he's drawing power in all of them. Sigma could be the first fourth-dimensional being within the lore of Overwatch. Think about it, he sometimes has this look on his face as if he's hearing voices. And he might actually hear someone talk to him, but we can't hear because we're not in that same plane of existence. He answers questions that are not being asked. He claims to have met the Iris. He clearly is no longer of this world, and all this petty business with these Omnics and whatnot, it's all beyond him. Talon can use him because he's not paying attention. That echo of Sigma that we see is basically on autopilot. But at some point, the sum of all these things that are Sigma are going to turn their attention to us, to the world he originated from. And we might face an enemy that is stronger than anything we've faced before. That's what they say in all these movies, right? There's going to be thousands of Sigmas. We're going to need a lot more stroopwafels. But what do you guys think? Who is going to be the end boss for Overwatch? Let me know in the comments. Join me during my streams on twitch.tv/DamesIsTV and make sure to subscribe for more updates on Overwatch.